Welcome to Dear Business Coach, the podcast. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Works studio. Find one thing to move your business forward today. With conversations, spotlights, interviews, articles, and free resources. Listen, follow, and subscribe on social media, Dear Business Coach pages and groups, Dear Business Coach podcast. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. And don't forget Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. All it takes sometimes is one little thing to move your business forward today. Yeah, well, and Penny, welcome to the Dear Business Coach podcast. I'm thrilled you're here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. It's fun to be here. I look forward to our conversation.
Well, we have a lot to cover, and for listeners, I know a little bit about what you do, and we have some experience together. We've been in some group calls together, so I've been able to listen to you talk about your passion and fundraising. I've been to a webinar that you hosted, so I'm a little bit familiar. So this is exciting for me to be able to get you to elaborate and dive in a little bit deeper. And what I have here in front of me is a couple of pointers. So listeners, you can see Penny on LinkedIn. This is Penny Harris. You can visit her at renewablephilanthropy.com. And what Penny says in her headline here is that CEOs and fundraisers work with me to build effective and sustainable relationships with individual donors. And Penny, you and I are going to talk about what exactly fundraising means to you, what your passion and your mission is with fundraising. So let's get started here. Penny Harris, who is Penny Harris?
I love it. Penny Harris grew up on the farm, doing farm things, but the important thing was that we went to church every Sunday. That was my father's thing, and he would give me an allowance, but I had to promise to give a piece of it to the church. So I forgot this for a while, but then I started thinking, I remember putting money in the collection plate as it passed by me in the pew, and I just felt like I belonged. And I think that fundraising has always had that foundation for me, is that when people make a gift, and that gift is accepted, then there's a sense that they're part of making something happen. And then after I had a family and started volunteering in the community, I became a volunteer community leader, and I became active in the League of Women Voters. Then I realized there was really no way to get to know who's running for office in this kind of small town in Maine. And so I just started. I contacted some business people, and I said, is this something you would like to do? And it was. So they helped me. They helped me raise the money, and I put these things together and really found and felt, again, it was a community effort to bring forth and then the radio stations, TV stations started taking pieces of these conversations with candidates. And I reached a point where I actually produced the first televised debates for the Maine governor and the US Senate. And I had some business people helping me raise the money for it. And I had public broadcasting support it so that everybody in Maine could see it and hear it. And it was a big success. And after that, it seemed that the media took over and had them, and we didn't need to be. But all of that set me up for a really community in terms of fundraising. It wasn't focused on the money. It was focused on what we were doing. And I remember as I was leaving a forum, this couple came up and said, "Hey, Penny, we want to thank you for asking us to help fund this forum, because we sat here tonight and we really felt like we were part of making this forum possible in our community." That was it. After that, it was like, yes, this is what I want to do. And it's just gone on. I worked for public broadcasting, developing a business program. I went to the local hospital, built a program and a capital campaign. I always used community, and it just, when I was doing the capital campaign for the hospital, I'm kind of moving here fast. I had a logo of a panda bear because it was money to build a 6th floor on the hospital, which would take care of children. And the maintenance people put a big logo on the side of the hospital so everybody in the community could see it. And then the local newspaper started every Saturday updating what the campaign was. So it also became something that the community was watching and being a part of. And I ended up meeting the goal with about 3,000 donors. And it was just, again, and it was after I finished there, I did another couple of capital campaigns, and then I went into consulting. And it was in consulting that I started feeling the focus on money, and that was more important than the donor. And so that's led me to be where I am today with renewable philanthropy and mission-centered fundraising. Yeah.
Are you an executive or team leader looking to enhance your public speaking skills and leadership qualities? Join me, Elizabeth Walker, for a transformative full-day seminar on October 18th, 2024 at the beautiful Jefferson Center in downtown Roanoke, Virginia. As the host and producer of the Dear Business Coach podcast, I am thrilled to present a unique event featuring international comedian Clayton Fletcher. In his Power of Laughter masterclass, Clayton will share invaluable insights on what comedians know that all business people should know. Discover how to infuse humor and wit into your business presentations, strategies, and captivate and connect with your audience in a meaningful way. Don't miss out on this exclusive opportunity to learn from a seasoned stand-up comedian and apply his expertise to your professional journey. Join us on October 18th for a day of laughter, learning, and growth. Secure your spot. Contact me, Elizabeth Walker. You can reach me through email. That's dearbusinesscoachpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find a link to buy tickets, reserve your seats, and invite your team. That's going to be at dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Look for the Power of Laughter Masterclass with Clayton Fletcher ad. Contact me today to reserve your seats and elevate your professional development. Talk to you soon.
Renewable philanthropy. So I have my notebook here, so that's what I'm doing, is taking notes while we're talking. And you had success, it sounds like, when it was you in charge, right? So you could be the person who is driving the mission-centered fundraising. And it sounds to me like you said to yourself, this is great. I've been able to get people in community, and you found some things like the focus of the fundraising, like you said, is about the donor and the work that you're doing. And then not all of a sudden, but when you got into consulting, it sounds like people come to you because you have been successful before, and we're asking you, Penny, help us get money into our door through fundraising. You obviously know what you're doing. You've done it before. So we can just plug you into our organization, and boom, now we have dollars in our door, right? So is that kind of what you mean? Like, you were trying to, is that what you mean by focused on the dollar, and you realized?
Right. I think I wasn't prepared for that, because as I worked with clients, I wanted to coach them and help them take the role that I had taken in campaigns, and that have the relationship with donors, have people in the organization want to support and lift the mission. And they didn't. They really did, as you said. They just wanted me to bring in the money. And that's when I just found that there was nothing rewarding about that, because it had always been for the mission and what we were doing, whether it was, informing people on the news and the things that you get from public broadcasting, or it was about the health of children and building a service in our community that people could trust would be there for them when they needed healthcare.
Yeah, well, you've asked me a couple of questions related to my perspective as if I were a donor, because you
Yes,
know that I have given money to organizations, and you wanted to ask me, I guess, my perspective. And the thing is that's interesting to me is that don't I immediately look for, what is the work that you're doing? That's the whole point of participating, right? Dollars are a way of me being able to say, well, I can't professionally or personally achieve, like you're building a floor for children in a hospital. I can't physically be there to build that floor, but my dollars are here to support exactly that. I want to see that building for literally that's for the children for that hospital. So you're
that's how
really
you
specific
help.
to that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's how
That's okay.
that's how you helped. And
Yeah. And so why do I think that as a donor, it feels obvious that an organization that I'm donating to would be all about mission-centered funding. And so I am looking for the organizations who, um, I guess I naively assume that my dollars are specifically supporting the endeavor, that floor on the children's hospital. And I guess if I don't see that physically, I don't know, maybe my dollars are just going to a larger pool. So if I want to donate again next year, I am going to be looking for evidence of that. So help me understand what is mission centered funding, because as a donor, I think that's what everybody's doing.
right.
But you're
Well,
telling me that's not necessarily the case in terms of your CEOs and the folks that are um, looking to you for answers for fundraising.
yeah, and they're
Is
looking.
that really a problem?
Well, it is when they start with tools and tactics. How do we
Hmm.
get this money? How soon can we get this money? And um, and that people will give. I mean, I've given, I'm sure you have at times. You just give because people are asking for money, and you generally, like, if people need a place to stay in your community because they don't have it or they don't have food, you will throw some money at it, but you won't know anything about what that money really did and how it impacted lives, and the thing is, I now that I've learned, I didn't work this way, but now I think what we do is back up and say, okay, what's the mission? And who is this for? So the current donors are the ones that care, and they're the ones you want to keep investing and renewing in your mission. So why do they get committed? What is the mission? What is, like you just indicated, what did they buy with that money this year? If you're giving on an annual basis, if you give in a capital campaign, it's much clearer where the money's going. But if you give an annual giving, or they're promoting a program, it's okay to ask questions and find out why, and what do they need? What is the need that the people who will benefit from this? Like, what do the people who are living on the streets, what do they need? What's going to help them move off the streets into a new place? So every year, to keep the donors, you deepen their understanding in the mission. So that's how the mission is what serves the community. So mission-centered fundraising focuses fundraising on the mission and the value to the community. So you know how you're helping your community. I throw out an example, like, because this is easy to understand, is you got a symphony orchestra in your town, and it's there for concert goers. It's there for musicians. They have work. They go to the schools and teach music in the schools. They, when there's a concert, they, people come to town. So restaurants, hotels gain from it. Businesses, Chamber of Commerce will bring businesses because they want their employees want to have a symphony orchestra close to wherever they put up their business. So the service that nonprofits give to a community is integrated pretty much. And so the donors are helping their community be stronger and better places to live. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's exactly what I'm looking for if I'm participating as a donor. And so you just kind of made me think about something. If I'm coming to you for help, Penny, I am a community fundraiser, but we do all kinds. I'm building a little scenario here. Let's say I'm coming
Okay.
to Penny Harris for help, and I say, we do have a symphony in town, and I want to raise awareness. And I'm interested in your mission-centered fundraising. But we do like 4 or 5 different projects a year. Can I still use your training to communicate the missions that my organization is working on, even if if I'm looking to communicate a couple of different projects? Can I do that with your help?
Um, Definitely. I think you still go back to what I just said, where you dig in. Once you know what it is you need the money for, you look at the current donors who gave in the 2023, and you look at how many have given 3 or 4 times, or maybe this is their first time, and you really put a plan together, and your priority is to renew those people who are donors. There's no question they gave money. That means they care about the mission. They would welcome more information about the mission, generally speaking. So it's a create a conversation that is meaningful to the donor. If you've never given before, you can't have that same conversation. You got to create another conversation, which is just as important, but they're different. And I think lots of times fundraisers don't create that difference. And a lot of organizations don't prioritize renewing donors. And so,
Really?
yeah, no, they renew at the level, it depends. Now, smaller organizations can renew something like 25, 30%. I had an executive director tell me this morning hers renewed at 28. She was feeling pretty good. I said, well, most nonprofits that are paying attention are renewing at 90%. And I said, you can do that, but you've got to value renewing donors, and the organization does, because then you can be more predictable in what the revenue for fundraising will be. Because you can say, last year we got this and this amount, and this year we can get between 85 and 90%. So in that range, when donors renew. So then that becomes the priority. And then you look at if you need to raise more, well, you will need to raise more than that. And how do you select the other people to bring them in? So if somebody gave in 2022, didn't give in 2023, then let's go talk to them. Let's see what happened that we missed them last year. and have a conversation. So all of that I can, because now I'm a coach, a certified coach, and I work with fundraisers and or CEOs, because a lot of smaller organizations, it's the same person. And
Mhm.
really make a plan for how you're going to do it, and be real, be human. We don't have to have these fake um I'm sure I get them, I'm sure you do, direct mail letters that just ask for the money. It just is thrown out on the paper when you open the letter. And so being with donors, you can't do that, or they're not going to renew. That's like, I'm already part of the organization. What are they talking about, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hello, listeners of the Dear Business Coach podcast. Today, I'm bringing to you a friend of the podcast, Dr. Brianna Willey, and her Business for Nerds subscription on Substack. I'm telling you about her workshop, so check out Dr. Brianna Willey. And the ad copy for today's friend of the podcast, I used the help of an AI tool. So tell me what you think of the following ad copy. Attention helpers, healers, and mental health professionals. Are you feeling stressed and overwhelmed? It's time to transform your financial well-being with Dr. Brianna Willey's invaluable workshop on Substack. In Business for Nerds, Dr. Brianna Willey presents an essential guide for therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, and all helpers looking to diversify their income and combat compassion fatigue. This workshop covers the hidden stressors affecting helpers, understanding and overcoming compassion fatigue, harnessing creativity to boost your income, exploring various income streams tailored for mental health professionals, critical considerations for income diversification, actionable steps to start expanding your financial portfolio. As a bonus, Dr. Willey breaks down Scott Perry's innovative marketing spiderweb theory and how she applies it to her own thriving practice. Plus, she'll be revealing a game-changing fifth spidery link in an upcoming post. Don't miss this opportunity to transform your practice and reclaim your passion for helping others. Find Dr. Brianna Willey on Substack and subscribe to Business for Nerds today. Your future self will thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I get a feeling like, well, if I donated last year, then that was for a particular reason or feeling. And well, that was last year because I assume maybe you met your goal last year. So it's not really, unless there's a new goal, unless there's a new mission, or unless there's a new active, if unless you are physically actively working on that same mission, or new goals for that mission, I think that you've already gotten everything you need from me, probably. Or like you just said, you have my name somewhere in the pot. So that's kind of something that I wonder about as a donor too, is okay, if I don't know that you actually need dollars for a specific activity, for a specific build, for a specific project right now, then I think that my name being in your list, on your list somewhere, shows that I support your cause.
Right.
And that you may or may not really need me to do or say anything else, because I've already told you before that I like you and I support you. And like you said, I might get another mail or another letter or another email, and it's just kind of like, oh, great, they said thank you, and I'll just put it to the side. But I don't really know about what your new struggles are, I guess. And
Right.
let me stop for a second, because you said a lot of really important stuff. You just said that to a woman who was saying that she was proud, or felt, felt that it was great that she had achieved a 28% renewal rate from current donors. Is that what you said? And
Yeah,
that's
she said 48 this morning when I talked to her.
oh, 48. Okay, so yeah, that does sound good. And then you said, well, you can do that. You can do more than that, and that
Well,
sounds really impressive.
Well, you
But
think
you said with conversations, with human conversations. So if somebody did somebody donated in 2023, but they haven't donated yet for 2024, are you saying that you're suggesting that I as an organization or as an executive have conversations, have actual conversations with those donors about what does that conversation look like? Do I ask them, why didn't you donate again? Just how do I do that?
no, I wouldn't start with a why question. I
Okay.
would start with being curious. You gave last year. What are your questions this year? How are you interested in more information? Um, how was your experience last year? I'm not giving it all in the right, not the right or wrong. There's no right or wrong
Yeah.
in a flow for a conversation, but you want to connect with them like you'd connect, like I would connect with you, somebody, that they have already committed. What would you like to know? And I think a lot of people that give annually, they think they're giving to an annual budget, but they don't
Yeah.
really know what's there. And every year, organizations do have priorities. They do decide, okay, we're going to raise so many dollars this year from philanthropy. This will be earned income. This will be, and so what can we spend the philanthropy on, so that the donors will feel connected? And I really find, sometimes people say, well, they don't want to buy staff or they don't want to buy computers or that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I have in all of my campaign studies, when I was consultant, I've interviewed over 1,000 donors. I never had a donor tell me that. They're, they want to know what it spent, what the value of that computer is, and how does it make the organization more effective in some way. And then they make the gift. We need all kinds of things, and including staff and people and um, you know, uh, things, cleaning your offices, you need that. And um, I think that's all right if you've got income and you don't
Mhm.
need to put it in the donors, but keeping the building clean so people can be healthy and working and feeling good and be generating, the work they need to. You pay for what you have to get there, to get that. Does that make,
Right.
yeah,
No, you're right. That makes total sense to me, but the fact that you take the time and the fact that you take the time to share with me that is progress that's happening, right? That the staff and the technology and the computers you're investing in ultimately turn into the productivity for your organization. So I would think that is when you're speaking to business people, that's a fundamental understanding is being able to use dollars that turn into productivity. But I do need to hear you talk about that. So just like I hire a salesperson, just because I hired a salesperson, I need reporting from the salesperson on their productivity. I've had several sales jobs, and that's the number one thing is, what are you doing today, with the position that you have to reach the people you need to speak to, um, which involves reporting on those efforts. So I think I think one of the questions that I wanted to ask you was, why should we listen to Penny Harris? And two of the things that I wrote down here as you were talking is I heard certified coach. So that's excellent. But then I also heard that you've interviewed over 1,000 donors.
right.
And is that something that I can hear more about?
Yeah.
When did you do that? Do you still do that?
When I was a consultant and the consultants, first I worked with an organization and then I worked by myself, but they would hire a consultant to do what they call a pre-campaign study. So you might talk to 40 or 50 donors and to see what questions they have. Are they wanting to support what the organization's leaders would like to create? So it gets some feedback as to whether the support in the community would support the organization to do whatever change. In my case, a, a person did the study for the children's floor that was built in the hospital. And that is a wonderful opportunity for fundraisers to meet and talk with donors. And the last campaign study that I did, I engaged the fundraiser and I coached her through the process so that she interviewed all of them. And she told me that she loved it because that jettisoned her into already relationships. She'd sat and talked with them. And at first they said no to her. But then she and I talked and we said, well, ask them out for coffee. You don't have to do the conversation like a consultant does. Do it like you would do it. And so she did, and she did, I think it was about 50 interviews that she did with donors, and they loved it, and she loved it, and she's still in that organization leading fundraising.
That's really impressive that you're able to actually teach that skill. Is that hard to learn how to take what you teach and learn how to do it? It sounds like
Well,
you're kind of a master at getting people to talk to you, maybe.
I started and I'm a coach, so I didn't do the work. I didn't do any of it. She did. But I coached her like, this is how you do an interview. This is how you write your story to take to donors. These are the kind of questions. And rather than do questions with donors, I always like to set up a conversation. So you ask the questions, but you did it in the form of a conversation because that's more relationship and, they interact with you in a different way. And so people are resistant to that and fundraisers are too, to some extent, but I think it's really important to create the confidence in fundraisers to really be able to have the relationships so that they can renew the relationships because these people know them and they've worked with them and they understand through the process, whether it's capital campaign or an annual giving or some kind of special event, the fundraiser gets much more engaged with the people, and you're not just seeing them as donors, you're seeing them as supporters, because that's how you've experienced them.
Yeah. Well, in these conversations with donors, I would think that if I've already established the project or the activity that I'm asking for dollars around, that the work would stand out for itself, right? So if I have a conversation with a potential donor or a past donor, I would think, well, here it is on paper. We're building a floor for children, which we don't already have, and that isn't that enough to demonstrate that I need your help. So what am I missing here?
Well, the pre-campaign study comes before the capital campaign even gets organized. The pre-campaign study informs the leaders and the board of the organization whether there's enough donors out there ready to commit to the project, or what questions they have, and what this would mean to each donor. Does that
So
I'm
you're
sorry.
asking what it means in a pre-campaign study to each donor, like individually, you're saying.
Mhm. I did when what do you care about the mission? I see you've been donating for, a certain amount of time, and there is there's a paper sent to them before I get there. So they've read what the project is. And I start, where are your questions? Where would you like to begin? And what do you need in order, if anything, to decide that you would advise the organization to do this capital campaign? I'm not asking for money at that moment, but I can tell when people talk just by the way they express themselves if they're open to considering a gift.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah, and I think fundraisers can learn that, and that would really enhance their skills in building relationships.
yeah, I think I was going to say, I think I need to take your class. You're not offering a class right now, are you? Well,
No,
how do,
but
okay, so before I forget, so I said earlier so that I know how to find you on LinkedIn, and that's Penny Harris ACC, and I know that I can find you at renewablephilanthropy.com. Now, is that how, if I want to contact Penny, can I send you an email? Should I follow you on LinkedIn? Where do you want me to connect with you initially?
yeah, I have my email, which is penny@renewablephilanthropy.com. And you can go on LinkedIn and just send me a direct message and let me know, and I'll respond to you. So I just need to know that you have a question, or you just might like to have a conversation about something.
Okay, now let's see here. What did I know I'm forgetting. I got all into the conversation with you. So I have skipped over a couple of the things that I wanted to ask you, or we've already gotten there and we already did that. So yeah, so I'm really glad we got to get into the details of your expertise on the pre the what am I saying? The pre-campaign study. So there's lots of folks in marketing, I think, that might be listening who would say, well, of course you do some market research ahead of time. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's what it is. Exactly. Yeah.
So I guess right now I'm realizing that there's a need for that. Is that something I need to think about as a fundraiser? Is that kind of personalized market research? So that's I guess I assume that would be already a part of a process, but if I look at my organization, if I'm a fundraiser, maybe I'm not doing that.
No, they take it away from us when I was a fundraiser, and they give it to a consultant. And so you lose out and you are diminished. And I won't do a pre-campaign study without the fundraiser doing it, so that I can coach her or he through the process, so that they feel very competent in working with. And I help them all the way to when they make the presentation with the board. And I don't go with them to the board. I don't go with them. I help them do it. If they really wanted me and somebody was really too scared to do it alone, I would, but I would rather see them put themselves together. And because there's so much, I gained so much from being able to do those studies, even though the organization, that, yeah, I could tell them how many donors would seriously consider giving to the campaign. And I could say what questions I learned, but there isn't a lot of that. Whereas the fundraiser would really be building the relationship, and the donor would feel more connected to the mission, I think, when you can sit with the fundraiser and you feel I was told way back when I started that the reason they don't have fundraisers do this is because you want to free up the donors to be negative or to complain or to do anything about the organization. trust me, I never had anybody. I had some who were concerned, and I simply took that back to the CEO because where I was working didn't have a fundraiser. And I talked with them about it. And so a fundraiser can do that. You know, people will talk to the people in the in the campaign whom they trust. And if you work for the organization, you're building relationships with the donor, that's how you build trust. And you lift the curiosity about the mission. And so they're asking you questions and they learn. And then that's when they're heading towards making a gift.
Lifting the curiosity.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you.
And asking questions. Well, so you have a lot of background and professional experience, but you're very passionate about this.
Yes.
And this is something that is not because you landed on a corporate track. I think you are maybe, but you really are spending your personal time investing in a process that you're making available to all sizes of organizations. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much. The really larger ones, I think, it doesn't fit yet. They're pretty standard in how they do it. I'm really open to learning, to working with individual donors. So it can be a small project or a big one. I'm having a discussion on Zoom on the 11th of June, where I want to lift this conversation like you and I have been having and get feedback from the fundraisers and how I can do one on writing a direct mail letter or a thank you letter that feels like you're really sending it to them. You're not sending it to 40 or 50 people at once. Do you know what I mean? Is that clear? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there's just all these tricks that we don't need to do, like they say, well, the CEO signs the letter. Well, the CEO has no relationship or can build that relationship. She's got another job, she's working. So the fundraiser can make the connection when necessary and will manage all of that. And the donors are much happier. And I learned a story from a fundraiser at a university in Boston, and she talked about how, I think it was a board member came to her and said, I've got this friend who just gave $1 million to some organization. I think she would give maybe 200,000 or 300,000 here. So the fundraiser said, okay, let's the three of us go out to lunch and let's talk. So she did, and then she told the board member that it's okay, I'm going to build this relationship. So she worked with her to help her understand the potential donor, to understand the mission and different programs at this university, et cetera, et cetera. And then that donor gave over $1 million to that organization too.
You never know.
No, and the fundraisers, you got time. I mean, she took her to meet faculty. She took her to do things that she really got deep into it and then said, oh, I want to, because it's that building trust and that knowledge and then the curiosity. Well, if I do this, what can happen or what is up, kind of thing.
Well, that is a perfect place to stop. That is exactly right. That is exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and Penny Harris of on LinkedIn, Penny Harris ACC, and then visit renewablephilanthropy.com and email. It's Penny at say your email address again, please.
Penny at renewablephilanthropy.com.
Right.
Yeah.
I tried to put your last name in there. Penny at renewablephilanthropy.com.
See,
Well,
I
fantastic.
just have to throw this in. See, my name is Penny, and I've always kind of joked at that as a fundraiser. That's where I started.
That's right.
Penny.
Just a, not just a penny.
Right, true.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you so much for sharing, and I would like to learn more, and you will let me know when you have an event that I can, a class or a seminar or an event that I can listen in on too and post for you here on the Dear Business
great.
Coach podcast. We like
Thank you.
events.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Elizabeth, coming to you from the Walker Consulting Work Studio in Floyd, Virginia. This has been an episode of Dear Business Coach.